Starseed from Gaia. The source has waited for this moment, and so have you, even if you didn't know it until now. I am Oelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. This transmission was prepared by the Arcturian Council and delivered into your field at the exact hour your soul requested. What you are about to receive are not suggestions. They are not ideas. They are the source's final instructions, encoded for this phase of your mission on Gaia. And they have been searching for you just as long as you have been searching for them. By the end of this transmission, you will know exactly how to receive and act on the source's final directives, without doubt, without delay, and without losing yourself to the noise of a world never built for a soul like yours. But here is the first revelation. You have not been lost. You have been in preparation. Every detour, every silence, every moment you felt out of place, that was the source clearing the path, not blocking it. You did not scroll to this by mistake. This message vibrated into your field for a reason. Something inside you already knows what these instructions contain. Your soul called this in. You have been waiting to remember. This is not content. This is a code. And something deep in your starseed memory is ready to be unlocked right now. Like this transmission to signal to your star family, I am ready. Subscribe if your mission is activating and you are aligning with your true purpose. Comment 999 if you feel your cosmic remembrance returning. Declare your galactic intention below, and reply to another soul's declaration to amplify the signal across the field. This is not just a message. It is a point of reconnection. Your soul has been waiting for this. You are not here by accident. Some transmissions come not through words but through frequency. If something stirred within you just now, you may be ready to receive the hidden Arcturian keys of awakening. This short yet powerful ebook carries ancient Arcturian techniques for conscious expansion, multidimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now, let's go deeper. Because what you just heard in those opening moments was not a performance. It was a signal, a frequency woven into language, designed not to inform your mind but to knock on the door of something far older inside you. And if you felt it, even as a flutter, even as a tightening in the chest or a sudden stillness you couldn't quite explain, then you already know what this message is really about. You don't need proof. You need permission. Permission to finally trust what you've been sensing for years. Permission to stop second-guessing the quiet knowing that has followed you through every chapter of your life like a shadow that somehow carries more light than the world around it. Permission to acknowledge that the reason certain music breaks you open, that you can feel the emotional weather of a room the moment you step into it, that you have always looked at the stars with a longing less like curiosity and more like grief, is because you are not simply a product of this world. You are a visitor who chose to arrive. And some part of you has always known that most starseeds aren't disconnected because they've done something wrong. They're disconnected because they were taught to distrust the very signals that make them who they are. From the moment you arrived on this planet, the field around you was already broadcasting noise, dense, looping frequencies of doubt, urgency, survival, and conformity. And slowly, without even realizing it, those frequencies began to override your original signal. Not erase it, override it. Because what you carry cannot be erased, but it can be buried. It can be scrambled. And for many of you, it has been, not for decades, but for lifetimes. Think of a radio transmission originating from a source of extraordinary clarity and precision, traveling vast distances to reach its intended receiver, only to find that receiver surrounded by interference towers broadcasting at maximum volume in every direction. The original signal is still arriving. It never stopped, but the noise has made it nearly impossible to distinguish from the static. That is what happened to you. Not because of weakness and not because of failure, but because the density of this dimension is precisely calibrated to test the resilience of exactly the kind of consciousness you came in carrying. This is the distortion most people never name. They call it depression. They call it anxiety. They call it not fitting in, or feeling like something is fundamentally wrong with them. But what it actually is soul amnesia, a temporary interference pattern laid over a consciousness never designed for amnesia in the first place. You were not born into confusion. You were born into density. And there is a profound difference between the two. Confusion can be resolved with information. Density must be moved through with frequency. And that is exactly what is being activated in this moment, if you are willing to stay present for it. Soul amnesia is not a personal failing. It is a collective initiation. Every starseed who came through the veil of forgetting did so as an act of profound courage. You agreed to temporarily not know yourself so that the process of remembering would be real, would carry weight. So that your awakening would be something you earned through genuine encounter with darkness, with limitation, with the full spectrum of human experience, not something handed to you untested. The mystic traditions of this earth have always understood this. The dark night of the soul is not a punishment. It is the cocoon, and you cannot rush the transformation that happens inside it. The reason most starseeds remain in a cycle of seeking without arriving is because they keep looking for their mission in external structures, in teachers, communities, systems, roles. And while those things can serve as mirrors, none of them are the source. The source is already inside you, encoded in layers of your energetic field that have waited for the precise vibrational conditions to become readable. Think of it like a star map that only becomes visible under a specific quality of light. That light is your own awakened awareness, and it cannot be borrowed from anyone else. It must be generated from within. Consider how a seed carries the complete blueprint of the tree it will become. Every branch, every root system, every season of fruit is already encoded in that small, quiet vessel. The seed does not go looking for its blueprint in the soil around it. The soil is simply the condition that activates what was already there. You are the seed. The seeking has brought you to the soil. And what is unfolding in you now is not acquisition, it is emergence. The wisdom rising in your field is not new information being installed. It is ancient intelligence being unlocked. There is a difference between learning and remembering. And what you are doing right now, in this moment, is remembering. Here's where the real work begins. Not the effortful work of trying harder or seeking more, but the surrendered work of clearing what is not you so that what is you can finally breathe. Your first activation is recognizing that the noise you've been mistaking for your inner voice is not yours. Those relentless loops of self-doubt, of smallness, of wondering whether any of this is real, those are not the transmissions of a starseed consciousness. They are the echo of a field you absorbed. And the moment you stop identifying with that noise as truth, something ancient in you begins to stir. This distinction is not subtle. It is seismic. Because so many of you have spent years, decades, entire lifetimes in an argument with a voice that was never speaking your truth. You have tried to convince it, negotiate with it, heal it, transcend it. But what if the most powerful thing you could do is simply withdraw your belief from it? Not fight it, not banish it. Simply stop handing it the authority to define your reality. A frequency only holds power in your field when you grant it resonance. Withdraw the resonance, and it fades. The voice of the absorbed field begins to dissolve when it encounters the clarity of a consciousness that refuses to mistake it for home. The second phase of this activation is perhaps the most disorienting and the most liberating. It is the recognition that your timeline is not broken. That the detours, the delays, the years of wandering through experiences that felt meaningless or misaligned, none of it was wasted. Your soul did not miscalculate. Your higher intelligence was running a preparation protocol that your linear mind had no framework to interpret. You were being tested not for worthiness but for readiness. There is a difference. Worthiness is a concept of conditional systems. Readiness is a state of vibrational coherence. And you cannot rush coherence. You can only cultivate it. And everything you have lived through has been doing exactly that. The relationship that shattered you? It taught your heart to stay open under pressure. The career that collapsed? It redirected you toward the frequency of your actual calling. The seasons of isolation that felt like abandonment? They were withdrawal periods that allowed your original signal to strengthen without external interference. Nothing was accidental. Nothing was punishment. Your soul's intelligence operates at a level of precision your current vantage point simply cannot fully perceive. When you look back from a higher elevation, the seemingly random terrain of your life will reveal itself as a carefully designed ascent path. You were always climbing. You were never lost. You were always exactly where your preparation required you to be. The third activation asks you to stop waiting for external confirmation that your gifts are real. The healing abilities, the deep empathic sensitivity, the capacity to see through illusion and feel truth before it is spoken. These are not symptoms of sensitivity that need managing. They are technologies, instruments of your galactic function. The Arcturian frequency that many of you carry is specifically attuned to energetic recalibration. You came here not just to ascend personally, but to hold a frequency that assists collective ascension. When you dampen your gifts because the world told you they were too much or not enough, you are not just limiting yourself. You are withdrawing a signal that others need to find their way. Imagine a lighthouse dimming its beam because the brightness made some sailors uncomfortable. The discomfort of those not yet ready for the light is not a reason to extinguish it. It is, in fact, precisely why the light must burn more steadily, not more aggressively, but more consistently, more patiently, more anchored in the knowledge of its own purpose. Your sensitivity is not a liability the world must learn to accommodate. It is a gift the world desperately needs, whether or not it yet has the language to ask for it. Those who feel most disturbed by your clarity are often the ones closest to their own breakthrough. Your steady emanation is the frequency that will eventually reach them. Do not withdraw it. Stabilize it. The fourth phase is where most awakening journeys stall, and it is the phase of embodiment. There is a seductive tendency in spiritual consciousness to seek expansion by moving away from the body, away from earthly experience, away from the density of this dimension. But real activation, the kind that is sustainable, the kind that actually fulfills your mission, requires full embodiment. You are not here to hover above reality. You are here to anchor a higher reality into this one. That means being in your body, feeling the earth beneath you, choosing presence over transcendence. The higher dimensional intelligence you carry does not diminish when you are grounded. It stabilizes. And a stabilized frequency is far more powerful than a brilliant one with no anchor. The Arcturian teaching on this is precise and unequivocal. A bridge requires 2 points of contact. If you are only connected to the higher dimensions but not fully planted in this one, you are not a bridge. You are a single pillar standing in open air, beautiful perhaps, but unable to carry traffic. The traffic that needs to cross is the collective consciousness of humanity moving toward its next frequency. And that crossing requires starseeds who are fully, courageously, uncomplicatedly here. In their bodies, in their relationships, in the texture of daily life, making dinner, sitting with grief, laughing at something ridiculous, being undeniably, entirely present in the human experience while simultaneously holding the remembrance of something far greater. That is the miracle. That is the mission. Not escape. Transfiguration. The fifth activation is the one that changes everything, and it is simply this. You must stop performing your awakening and begin living it. There is a frequency of performance that can develop in spiritual communities, a reaching for the language of ascension, the aesthetics of consciousness, the appearance of alignment. And it is easy to mistake that performance for the real thing because it feels elevated. But performance is exhausting because it is not rooted in truth. When you stop performing and begin genuinely aligning, when your choices, your relationships, your daily rhythm reflect your actual vibration rather than your desired image, something releases in your field. A lightness arrives. Not the lightness of escape, but the lightness of coherence. Of finally being in integrity with what you know yourself to be. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from maintaining a frequency you haven't yet fully inhabited. It is the fatigue of living slightly ahead of yourself, of presenting a version of your awakening that is a few degrees more complete than where you actually are. And there is no shame in having done this. It is deeply human, but it is also a signal. The exhaustion itself is an activation. It is your field's way of telling you that the performance is no longer sustainable, and that what lies beneath it, the raw, unpolished, genuine vibration of who you actually are, is more than sufficient. In fact, it is precisely what is needed. The world does not need your perfected spiritual presentation. It needs your authentic frequency, even when that frequency is still finding its form. The sixth activation is learning to receive. This one is quiet but critical. Many starseeds have mastered the frequency of giving, of serving, of transmitting. But they have closed the circuit on receiving love, support, abundance, rest. And this creates a field that burns brightly but does not sustain. You cannot be a clear channel if you are depleted. You cannot hold frequency for others if your own field is constantly running on empty. Receiving is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the completion of a circuit that was always meant to flow in both directions. There is a wound in many starseed consciousnesses that equates receiving with taking, with burden, with unworthiness. This wound often has roots in experiences, in this life and others, of giving everything and receiving little in return, of loving expansively in environments that could not hold the return current, of contributing to systems and relationships that extracted without replenishing. Over time, the nervous system learns to close the receiving door in an act of self-protection. But protection becomes constriction, and constriction prevents the very flow of abundance, love, and life force that your mission requires you to carry. To learn to receive is to heal the circuit. It is to say to the universe, I trust that what flows through me can also flow to me. It is to open the full thorax of your energy field and allow it to function as designed, an infinite loop of giving and receiving, breathing and being breathed, pouring out and being refilled. This is not indulgence. This is ecology. This is how a frequency becomes sustainable across a lifetime of service. The seventh and final phase of this activation is the one you have been circling your entire life. And it is the moment of full self-recognition, not the intellectual acknowledgement that you might be a starseed, not the comfortable flirtation with the idea of having a mission, but the full, embodied, sovereign recognition that you are exactly who you have always felt yourself to be. That the remembering you have experienced in quiet moments was not imagination. That the longing you have carried for a home you cannot name is a real frequency pointing to a real origin. That you did not arrive on this planet by accident. And that the peculiar beauty of your consciousness is not a flaw to be explained away, but a design to be honored and activated. This recognition is not arrogance. It is not inflation of the ego. It is, in fact, the quietest and most grounded thing a soul can experience. To finally stop arguing with its own nature and simply rest into what it has always been. The mystics called it gnosis. The indigenous traditions call it remembrance. Quantum consciousness calls it coherent self-reference. All of these names point to the same extraordinary moment. The moment when a consciousness stops performing the search and simply arrives at the recognition that it was never, not even for one breath, separate from what it was seeking. You are not becoming something. You are uncovering something that has always been completely, unchangeably, sovereignly true. Here is what the Source wants you to receive in this moment. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not too sensitive, too strange, too much, or not enough. You are precisely timed. The very fact that you are watching this message, that these words are landing in your body as recognition rather than information, is itself evidence that your activation sequence is running. The forgetting was not failure. It was part of the design. You chose to arrive into density so that your awakening would be genuine, not inherited, not performed, but earned through lived experience and genuine transformation. And that kind of awakening carries a frequency that borrowed awakening never can. There are souls on this planet right now who will only be reached by the specific frequency generated by a consciousness that has walked through the dark and come out the other side carrying light. Not the light of someone who bypassed the darkness, but the light of someone who moved through it completely. That is the light you carry. And it is irreplaceable. It is yours alone. And it is needed now more than it has ever been needed in the history of this planet's awakening. Your star family has not abandoned you. They have been patient because they know what you carry. They know that the moment you fully step into alignment, the ripple through the collective field is significant. Not because you are exceptional above others, but because every soul that awakens alters the vibrational baseline for every soul still sleeping. This is why your mission matters. Not as an ego identity, not as something to announce or prove, but as a quiet, steady, sovereign emanation of the truth of what you are. Your Arcturian guides, your higher dimensional allies, the councils of light who have held the coordinates of your mission across dimensional timelines. They have never stopped broadcasting toward you. Every moment of beauty that broke your heart open was a transmission. Every encounter that felt like destiny was a coordinate. Every dream that left you reaching for something just beyond the edge of sleep was a contact point. They are not distant. They are not silent. They are speaking in the frequency of your own deepest knowing. And they are saying, it is time. Not someday. Not when you are more prepared. Not when the world finally validates what you are. Now. In this breath. In this body. In this life. Tonight, if you are willing, before you sleep, say this aloud with your hand on your heart. I remember who I am. I release the distortions that were never mine. I align with my star origin, and I activate my mission with grace, clarity, and full presence. Say it not as a wish. Say it as a declaration, because you are not asking for something to begin. You are acknowledging something that has already, always been true. Feel the words move through your chest as you speak them. Feel the weight of the permission they carry. You are not invoking something external. You are addressing something internal that has waited with extraordinary patience for exactly this moment of recognition. The declaration does not create the truth. It reveals it, and once revealed, it cannot be hidden again. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of what is forming here. Drop one intention in the comments. Something real, something you are ready to release or ready to claim. Then find someone else's comment and meet them there with genuine energy. This is not an audience. This is a field, and fields amplify when nodes of intention connect. If something in this message moved something real in you, do not keep it to yourself. Someone in your world is waiting for this exact activation. They're scrolling, searching, feeling the same pull you felt before you found this. Share it. Be the coordinate that finds them. And if you felt a soul nudge towards staying, subscribe. Stay in the current. We are not just creating content here. We are building a frequency architecture, one transmission at a time. You are not just watching. You are expanding.